What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs. Kong news updates. Did you get that? What I said was, what's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs. Kong news and updates. To all the comments that I'm inevitably gonna get saying things like, oh man, can't we talk about something other than Godzilla vs. Kong? Or maybe we shouldn't do Godzilla vs. Kong videos yet now that the movie's been delayed. Maybe we should just wait until we get closer to the movie before we do these. To all of those comments, I will say that I've got so many videos on the channel, even recently, that aren't Godzilla vs. Kong. Just go watch those. Or if this video rolls through your notifications, just don't click on it. If you don't want to hear about Godzilla vs. Kong yet, you don't have to watch. Oh, by the way, chapter time's in the description below. Skip to whichever story you want. Alright, starting out, we'll go back a little bit to when Legendary wished Godzilla a happy 65th birthday. Yay! It's a good thing. Yay! Godzilla's 65th birthday was, of course, November 3rd, 2019. Legendary celebrated, everybody celebrated, I celebrated, we all celebrated. It was awesome. And that's that. Warner Brothers talked about their 2019-2020 lineup. When talking about 2019, they stated that King of the Monsters was in fact a box office disappointment. However, they were very clear that it was not a flop. They had a separate category for movies that were flops. King of the Monsters was not one of them. It underperformed, but it did not flop. They then went on to say that they are still very hopeful for Godzilla vs. Kong and that they think it's going to be one of their bigger movies next year. I hope they're right. Godzilla vs. Kong had its first official teaser promo kind of thing. It was released on the Godzilla King of the Monsters Blu-ray special features. It isn't actually Godzilla vs. Kong, it's taking footage of Godzilla King of the Monsters and Kong Skull Island and splicing it together in a cool little edit to tease the upcoming battle. However, there is no new footage used in that little teaser. The new Monsterverse cabinet game had images released for it. There is actually a video of a man showing a bit of a tour. He's doing a little bit of a game tour showing how it works, and in that we do see a little animation of Godzilla. I've seen a lot of people reporting that this is the 2020 Godzilla vs. Kong design, and this is our first image of it. Those people are wrong. This is in fact the Godzilla King of the Monsters design, as you can see from the dorsal fins. They might port the same design over into Godzilla vs. Kong, and they might keep the dorsal fins the same, and so then it would be the 2019-2020 design. However, this is in fact the King of the Monsters design. I also don't think that game looks particularly fun to play, but that's just because I don't like cabinet games. That's a totally different thing. Playmates Toys is getting ready to release their Godzilla vs. Kong figures. We don't know when they're getting ready to. We don't know when they're going to reveal those, but they certainly are preparing to in the future. We know that Playmates has the license for Godzilla vs. Kong, and so we will see something for the movie from them probably in the next few months. When we got images for the King of the Monsters figures, that was in about February of 2019, came out about 4 months before the movie. With Godzilla vs. Kong being delayed, I would anticipate that there will be a similar gap between the movie and the figures. So I'm assuming about August next year we will start to get the figure reveals. However, you never know, because they did acquire these licenses before the delay happened, so they may just push right ahead and release some figure info before the time comes. I would doubt it. I would think that they're gonna wait. I'm recording this little post segment to talk about the recent post Adam Wingard, director of Godzilla vs. Kong, made on Instagram, in which he posted a change.org petition stating petition closed, as if they're gonna do it, to make Kong shove a tree in Godzilla's mouth in Godzilla vs. Kong 2020. This petition had 795 supporters, and he posted it. No, I don't actually think Wingard's gonna do that. I've actually talked about in the past. I don't want that to happen. I just think that that's a little disrespectful to the character, almost. I know it's in the original, but that's not something I think they should redo in the new one, and I don't think they should reverse it either to have Godzilla shove a tree down Kong's throat. Not that Godzilla's hands could really do that, but you get the point. Also, there's not really any trees big enough. They're both huge now compared to how they used to be, and that shouldn't have even worked in the original. And I've seen people talk about, well, a redwood maybe could. Yeah, where are they going to get a redwood in Hong Kong? I actually don't know if redwoods grow in Hong Kong, but I don't think they do. Certainly none of the trees on Skull Island that we saw are big enough to be able to do that. I don't think he's actually going to do that. He's just joking around. I've seen people like writing actual articles about it. That's the only reason I'm so serious about it, is because like people are actually writing articles about it, and it's like, holy cow, how desperate for news are you? But speaking of change.org petitions regarding this movie, it's actually not mine, so don't donate to it, but go sign the change.org petition about me, linked in the description below, to get me in Godzilla vs. Kong, because we all know we want that, don't we? Right? We all want that. We do. If you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, first of all, how is it? It must be comfortable because you've stayed under there for a long while. At CCXP, aka Brazil Comic-Con a few weeks ago, we got our first little image of Godzilla vs. Kong featuring Godzilla fighting Kong on top of an aircraft carrier. Now, for legal reasons, I cannot show the footage in this video. However, I think it's been enough time to where I can link it down below and be fine. So if you want to go check it out, you can use the links in the description below to check it out yourself. Basically, the image features Godzilla fighting Kong in silhouette, and that's about it. That's all we got, and we don't know anything else about it, leading us to be able to speculate about it forever. How big is King Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong? This has been something that's been hotly debated for a long time, and we have that first look at Godzilla vs. Kong that may give us an indication, but I'm going to bring something to the table that will give us a different indication that no one's really talked about. I gotta give a little special shout out to KikiZilla101 here for pointing this out to me. He actually sent this to me, so thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. This was done back at Comic-Con for Conan's show. Conan O'Brien's a talk show host who is produced by Warner Brothers, so the show is a Warner Brothers show. And so the fact that they reported on Kong's height may mean that they have accurate info as to how big Kong is in the new movie. So in that, it was a little skit they were doing, and it's actually kind of funny to watch. I recommend going and watching it because it cracks me up. The dogs don't make me laugh nearly as much as Conan's reaction to the dogs. So in that little skit, they were doing a Godzilla vs. Kong parody thing, and they reported on Kong's height as 270 feet. They reported that against Godzilla's height standing at 355 feet. I don't know about you, but these numbers seem a little outdated to me. Although this was a recent Comic-Con and they were talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters, these numbers still seem a little outdated to me. However, I do think they might actually be official. I'm not saying that I think they're going to shrink Godzilla back down to his Godzilla 2014 size going into the new movie, but what I am saying is I think this is the scaling we will get for Godzilla vs. Kong. And of course, take this all with a grain of salt. This could just be random numbers they threw out for a little comedy bit. But at the same time, I think these might have been base numbers that they were using before Godzilla King of the Monsters increased the size for Godzilla, and I would think that would mean they'd increase the size for Kong as well. Now, given these numbers, the 355 to 270 foot height difference, we can scale those up to find our new numbers. Godzilla now being 394 feet, we scale Kong up to find that he is about 309 feet. So maybe in the new Godzilla vs. Kong movie, Kong will be standing at about 309 feet. I'm actually all for that. I think Kong being a little less than 100 feet smaller than Godzilla is a great idea. I don't want Kong to be the same size as Godzilla. I think having him be smaller than Godzilla is a really good move. In fact, if Kong is bigger than Godzilla in this new movie, I wouldn't really be all that excited about that. I think that that would push the odds in Kong's favor too much, and I want to root for Kong as an underdog. I don't want Kong to go in there and be this huge Goliath that Godzilla has to take on. I want it to be the other way around. Orange Hat Reviews on Twitter weighed in on this, not on these numbers specifically, but on the potential of Kong being the height of Godzilla based off that image we got from CCXP, and in that, he broke down how much the monster would have had to grow to reach that height. But that is something that people have been hotly debating on Twitter for a long time, and it's gotten to the point where you don't engage in conversations with people like that anymore because you're not going to get anywhere. No one's going to change their mind, so there's no point in talking about it. People always point out how unrealistic it is for Kong to grow to such a height from his original 104 foot height in Kong Skull Island to something that can take on Godzilla. What those people don't mention is the fact that Godzilla, for whatever reason, didn't grow from prehistoric times until 1954 when we catch up with him in Godzilla Awakening. He then didn't grow all the way up until 2014. In 2014, he was still the height that he was back in 1954 and back in prehistoric times, that being 355 feet. Now jumping forward a little bit to 2019, suddenly Godzilla strolls up out of the depths as 394 feet tall. How on earth did Godzilla grow so much in just 5 years after not growing for millions of years? No one's going to question that because it's Godzilla, so they're going to simply just say, oh, well, Godzilla's unrealistic to begin with. I would argue that so is Kong. Godzilla growing 39 feet in 5 years means that he grew 7.8 feet a year. So if that is the metric for how much a monster can grow a year, starting with Godzilla based off what happened between 2014 and Godzilla vs. Kong, let's take that and apply that to Kong. Orange Hat Reviews says that Kong grew 290 feet in 46 years. He is using the height estimate for Kong in the trailer where he presumes Kong is equal height to Godzilla, so Kong is 394 feet, and 46 years from 1973 when Kong Skull Island took place until 2019 modern day. He estimates that Kong would have had to grow 6.3043 feet a year, so in fact less than Godzilla grew between King of the Monsters and 2014. So is it really all that unrealistic? I'd say it's even less unrealistic than that, because again, I don't think that Kong is gonna be 394 feet in Godzilla vs. Kong. I think he will be somewhere somewhere around 309 feet, and instead of doing 46 years, we're going to boost it to 47 years from 1973 to 2020. With those numbers, we find that Kong grows an average of 4.3617 feet a year. He's only growing about 4 feet a year. That is really not that unrealistic at all. And some people will again try and argue, oh, but the monsters don't grow consistently from year to year, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know, but you're assuming that they're going to go through a growth spurt eventually. I'm just saying 4 feet a year isn't that much. And of course, there is the same kind of continuity error you could apply to Kong. Kong doesn't seemingly grow between 1943 and 1973, so there's about 20 years where he just doesn't seemingly grow, and then all of a sudden he shows up in Godzilla vs. Kong and he's huge. Yeah, I understand the complaint there, but we do know from Skull Island Birth of Kong that Kong has been consistently growing, meaning that's simply a visual error at the start of Kong Skull Island, nothing else. Alright, let's move on from that. That turned into a theory video in the middle of a news video. How's that for a change up? Could have made that its own video, I'll have you know. I could have done my own how big is Kong gonna be video, but I chose to put it in here so that you guys didn't have 10 million billion Godzilla vs. Kong videos flooding through your feed that you were gonna complain about. We have new set photos from Godzilla vs. Kong. In them, we see destroyed sets, we see a big factory, something that may play into the movie. I'd actually doubt it's gonna be a big part in the movie. We see a couple destroyed sets and factories, lots of Monarch vehicles, some of which are Chinese, so now we know that Monarch is involved in China as well. We already knew that from King of the Monsters, but now we know that they have involvement in places like Hong Kong rather than just where Mothra's temple is. So sure, that's the info we get. There's no Apex apparel in any of the new footage or pictures that I haven't seen before. None. There's none. I looked, I scoured everywhere for it. I've scoured the internet for the Apex symbol or anything like that that people have been claiming is in this footage. It's nowhere. I've gotten a lot of comments, even from people like Dangerville, telling me, yeah, there are people wearing Apex uniforms. I think you guys are confusing the new Monarch uniforms as Apex uniforms. There are new uniforms that have the Monarch insignia on it. We do see some military members on a bridge with that Monarch insignia on it. Unless someone can point to me on Twitter or wherever the actual Apex symbol, I'm gonna say no, there is not. You're misremembering things. We have some cast info, some of the casted interviews. They actually didn't do it for Godzilla vs. Kong. A bunch of cast interviews where they mention Godzilla vs. Kong. That is a bit more accurate way to say it. Starting out, we have one with Lance Reddick. He didn't say if he was excited for the film, which makes me a little nervous, but he did say he was excited to work with Wingard, and he's excited to see what Wingard does with what they film. He said he worked against green screen so much that he actually has no idea how the movie will turn out. It's pretty interesting. Alexander Skarsgard did an interview that we've covered before, so I'm gonna blast through it. Said he didn't want to play dark characters anymore. He wanted something that wasn't dark and intense, so he could do a bit of a change up. Really wanted to work with Adam Wingard, so he took the role. He wanted to play a likable character, and now he says he gets to. He also claims that his character is the protagonist of Godzilla vs. Kong, which makes me a little nervous because I would prefer to see Dr. Chen, Mark Russell, and Madison Russell as the protagonists of the new movie. He says his character's not a hero or an ex-Marine, he's just a geologist, and he's not your standard boring action hero. Good stuff. Eiza Gonzalez shared a pretty similar sentiment. She said she wanted to do something different from her usual roles, so she wanted to play a smart and slightly comedic character. I have seen people online a little worried about the slightly comedic aspect of her character. I don't think that means she's going to be comic relief. I just think that means her character is going to have some levity, which is a realistic thing. I don't know if you've ever hung out with people in the real world, but people make jokes, so get over it. We got some cast tidbits, and again, all this stuff is linked down below, so if you want to check this all out for yourself, you sure can. Julian Dennison has nothing to offer. Lance Reddick mentions that he worked as an extra on Godzilla 98, so that's fun. Brian Henry said he was having a blast working on the film alongside Millie Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown says Kong is one of her favorite characters in the new movie. Hell yeah. She also said that Madison doesn't know which side she falls on. She doesn't know if she's going to be Team Kong or Team Godzilla. Obviously, she's going to have a connection to Godzilla based off what happened in the last film, but clearly she's going to have some empathy for Kong as well. I could actually see her character leaning more towards Kong than Godzilla because she did have that connection with Mothra, and Kong and Mothra are pretty similar characters. She then says there will be an amazing battle between Godzilla and Kong, so that's good. There were some glimpses of filming, including our first looks at Hong Kong for the movie. We got a few looks at that Godzilla vs. Kong slate, some more HD looks at it, so again, we've seen that image a million billion times, but this does give us a better look at it. You know, it's the one featuring Godzilla and Kong fighting in what looks like a city with plumes of smoke behind them. We also see a big battleship off the shore of what I believe is Hawaii, so there you go, a big battleship off the shore of Hawaii. A strange helicopter with M1 is written on it. I'm thinking that might be a Monarch helicopter, I don't know, maybe M stands for Monarch, Monarch 1, I don't know why it wouldn't have the Monarch logo if it was Monarch. And then finally, all the Hong Kong shots we get, including a video taken from a helicopter, look awesome. Oh my god, I love the neon color aesthetic aesthetic, the neo-futuristic look of that kind of color palette. It's my favorite sort of color palette. It's actually the thing that's got me most excited going into this movie, given how little information we know, is what Wingard will do with the color palette. Of course, Death Note had a very neon aesthetic to it, which I thought was beautiful. I think that's the best aspect of that movie. And the image we saw does capture the Kong Skull Island sort of color palette. So I'm thinking maybe they might do something with Kong being orange, Godzilla being blue. Maybe when they fight, it'll be all neon. That'll be really cool. I can't wait to see what they do with that. And I've heard people say that they're expecting the final battle to be comparable to the Pacific Rim fight in Hong Kong, which again was another neon, very beautiful, well-lit nighttime fight. So that's what I'm excited for. That's what I'm hoping for. And we're just gonna have to see what happens from here. I'm still remaining optimistic for this movie. I know a lot of people are worried about it, but I've chosen to disregard the potential spoiler information we have given the trailer description that came out from months and months ago at the Russian Expo. I've chosen to completely disregard that. We don't know any of the context for it, and if I think about it too much, it's just gonna bum me out. So I'm gonna pretend I know nothing about that. I'm gonna push forward being happy and hopeful for this movie until the movie proves me otherwise. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.